Welcome back, everybody, to Too Much Popcorn, the movie review podcast where Jimmy and I watch a movie, and then we sit down, we talk about the things we liked, the things we didn't like, the highs, the lows, things that make a movie good, things that make a movie bad. And this week, we watched Hitman, Agent 47, the Hitman 2015 film. That's right. We watched the first one, and we said, we're going back for more. There's another mission we have to accomplish.
Just like a hitman, you always accept the mission, even though you know that it's going to be near impossible to complete. It'll put your skills to the test. And ooh boy, those skills.
Oh man, those skills were put to the test. This was just one of those movies. You know, there's good movies that are bad. There's bad movies that are good. That's why we like to do this podcast. Sometimes we'll recommend a movie that's bad that we feel that you should watch. And other times we'll recommend bad movies that you shouldn't watch. But because, you know, sometimes a bad movie has some qualities. This movie had some qualities. And, you know, that's what can be said about it.
I think as a beginning stepping off point for the conversation of this movie is if I remember correctly, we watched the first Hitman movie and said, hey, we probably shouldn't ever watch any more of these. And our episode came out, and I won't spoil what we said about it, but I think we left thinking that Timmy Olyphant, Timothy, the old man who shaved his head for that whole movie, couldn't act. That was the takeaway. The main takeaway was where we were like, well, he just didn't do any acting in the movie. And so we're returning to this series against our better judgment. We knew what we were getting into fully. And I think I wanted to see some acting, you know? And I think the bad thing about that is I don't really know why I was expecting there to be any acting. But the good thing is that we got way more one-to-one Hitman game mechanics in this movie than in the first one.
You're counting the actual game mechanics of a kid playing the game that was in the first one.
That can't count. Because you can't just show footage of the video game that you're basing your movie off of and call it there. I fundamentally disagree with the fact that scene exists still.
No, I think several years from now, I'm going to buy the rights to Transformers. I'm going to boot it up. It's going to be like a gritty, ambulance-based heist movie. And then it's going to cut to some kid who's just playing Transformers, like the PS2 version from 2008.
Not even that. The Transformers are in their transforming spaceship, and on one of the monitors is the 1986 movie, and they're like, oh, that's pretty cool, isn't it, Optimus?
Yeah.
Okay, but we're not there. We're in Hitman, Agent 47, lead actor Rupert Friend, and let me tell you, people, if you're hiring a guy named Rupert Friend as a main character who is a hitman assassin, Friend is not the last name you want associated with someone who I know he's an actor. He puts on the mask of a hitman and he's become the character. But I see the first credit in this movie as Rupert Friend, and I shed a little tear as I think, well, he wasn't very friendly at all.
Yeah. I don't want to get too much into criticizing his acting as an actor because one, I haven't seen him in anything else.
No.
And two, I truly do think he was dealt a bad hand of being given
just like Timmy.
Yeah. It's hard to be given a one-dimensional character and play it to a successful level.
Oh, that's true. I forget. They did try to make Timmy's character, the original Hitman, horny. And they skipped that one. They skipped that one in this movie. He was just kill man.
Yeah.
He was a kill man and he killed. And I do, yeah, you're right. It's not fair to pick on him, but I do think it is fair to pick on maybe just the cast as a whole.
Well,
in terms of not being the thing that I don't understand about video game adaptations at this point is if you are aware of a sort of goofy nature that a game has vis-a-vis Hitman, putting on disguises, killing people with frying pans, etc. There is a sort of goof-em-ups in regards to how the open-ended gameplay nature of a Hitman game leads people to do wild things. Again, these are not games I've played. Yes, they are presented as you are a cold and calculated killer who will do anything to complete a mission. But you give that to a 12-year-old and they will amass bodies in an elevator and send it down a shaft and explode it at the bottom and kill everyone with a wine juicer. Like, who knows what's going to happen in this game? So you have a full cast that is not ready to ham it up to the level of a video game and instead decide we're going to ground this in reality. At the same time, Zachary Quinto's character has titanium blood. You can't have a character who has titanium blood and not take a few things sort of in stride with that.
True. You can't have me suspend disbelief if you're not going to fully suspend disbelief with me. And I do agree. I think that's something that most video game or even comic book adaptations fail at, is that there's, like you said, a goofy aspect to these things, and they have the play space for it. They have the technology.
The fans are in it to see what can be done.
And if
they know it from the video game.
And if you gave me a goofy level of like Agent Hitman knocking people out and switching costumes vis-a-vis the game, I would fucking enjoy that. Like, that's why people go to these movies. It's not to take these characters and make them gritty and make them do cool fighting stunts, like,
and say one-liners like, "You are what you choose to be."
Yeah. Like, you don't look at the 1986 Transformers movie and, like, it's about how they're building their character. No, they get fucking straight into the action. They start blasting lasers. That's what the people want. Michael Bay gets it.
They've got the touch.
Yeah, they got the touch. Stan Bush knew. And so, yeah, I think, like, if you have these movies, goof it up. Goof it up with your characters. You can have your main character be your flat, one-dimensional, stupid, bland person. Sorry, Mr. Friend. You know, that's the hand you were dealt. I get it.
I know. You literally, your character has a barcode that is scannable, and you scan the barcode, and it is bananas. Again, I'm sorry, it's still just bananas.
Yeah. But don't give me the one character who's only got his, 2 twin 45s and his knives. That's like all he uses. Give him the stupid, goofy weapons and improvise things. Make it fun. That's what movies should be. Movies should be fun.
I think, and I think you probably would agree, that the one time this movie flipped it on us, where we were actually like, "Oh, this could be fun," is there is the scene far into the movie, too far for it to be the one time where we think we're going to have fun, where the car starts getting, they're trying to escape in the car, and it starts getting harpooned with these sort of huge cables from on high in this intersection. And not only does it get harpooned, it gets so stuck with all these things that it literally stops moving. It is so tied to these buildings. And then not only that, the goofy ass henchman who has shot these things starts ziplining down these things like it's a totally secure thing for them to be doing. And in that moment, I think, well, here we are in the video game. This is goofy as hell, not very Hitman, but actually a fully entertaining sequence that we're in here.
And see, I think that in itself is a mistake, because it was very fun, But when in the games have you driven a car that is then harpooned and stuck in an intersection? You know,
Well, that's what the movie is for. It's trying to expand that play space, but you're right. It doesn't really match the tone.
and I'm okay with something expanding the play space if it does the thing it should do well first.
Yes.
You know?
Establishing that it can deal with what actually a Hitman game is before saying, actually, we just played a lot of fucking, harpoon shoot 'em up game, and we wanted to put that in our movie.
Yeah, because it almost makes the whole concept of the, Hitman or whatever video game you're basing your game off of, it almost makes it a MacGuffin where it's like you can take out the characters and the names and the places and put it in with any other action movie, and now it's just a basic action movie. So, you have Agent 47 who's doing all these cool Krav Maga-esque fighting techniques, but he doesn't really do those in the games. He just kind of punches people or, uses his stealth skills. So,
yeah.
Go to what the character is good at, use those stealth skills, use the clothing changes. And then if you want a little bit of combat, you can put in some combat, but don't make him this Krav Maga-esque person because you saw some other movie do it and you're like, that's what our movie needs too. It's 2015.
He can stand up from his two legs in a river.
Yeah. And I think that the first time I actually thought that we were going to have fun with this movie was when they were escaping from one of the stupid buildings that exist in this movie. I can't remember if it was the first one, the second one, the third one.
One of the blue flashing ones, or
or it was the kind of fuzzy one that had that premonition-esque
oh boy,
filtered.
Don't get me started on that.
Oh, we'll start on that.
We will.
But yeah,
was it the costume change?
It was the
back
costume
to
change.
back?
They actually did a costume change. You're like, oh, that was funny, and then
back to back.
Yeah, and then he gets spotted by somebody, and then he's like,
oh, Hitman.
It did a stupid cut grab of him grabbing the guy's neck, but then
grabbing towards the camera.
Yeah, which was
I'm gonna get you, camera guy.
It was stupid, but it cut, and then there was another clothing change, and so you're like, that's goofy. That's what the games are.
Goofy. Yeah. Yes. No, you're right. That is the first moment where, beyond entertaining in the harpoon thing, again, that scene fully not Hitman. Just actually kind of a cool concept.
Yeah.
And very funny. Still very funny when they come ziplining it. That was the moment where we both pointed and we're like, oh, he's doing the mechanic in the game where you switch the things. And not only that, there was literally the scene where he is witnessed by this other person and is starting to be followed. It follows that you almost expect that character in reality to have an exclamation point show up over their head, Solid Snake style, who's this guy? Or I'm gonna go, and a little radial dial starts spinning up over him or something. Yeah.
Because that's in the 2018 Hitman that recently came out, there'd be the characters who you could walk by and they wouldn't recognize your characters, but there was certain guys with a white circle over their head. Those were the guys who could spot you and tell your costume was fake. And so there was a group of 5 people that walked by him, and then that one guy was the one who was and then there's that noise that plays in the 2018 one that goes as he starts to realize it's you, and you're like, oh.
Yeah. Feeling that in the movie, I was like, shit, guys, we've already been through maybe half an hour of this, but they might actually pull it off, and then proceeded to not do anything else from the game at all.
Yeah.
After that point, unsurprisingly, but yeah. So you did mention, I'm having a premonition myself. You mentioned that there was a premonition sequence that was very prevalent in the movie. And I need to talk about this because the switcheroo that this movie pulls in terms of the Hitman Agent 47 being the title of the movie, not being the main character, but instead Agent 90, Katya, is actually the main character because she is this many more, iterations better than Agent 47, because this time they gave her precognition. And not only that, the movie completely fails to explain in any way if it is precognitive or if it is. They describe it, if I remember correctly, in dialogue. She says that she's nervous all the time and gets like scared and afraid. And is that because she thinks she's seeing possible possible situations? Is she actually seeing the future? Is she seeing an infinite possibility to rectify solutions? What's going on there? Why was it unexplained? They felt like explaining a lot of other things. Actually, no, nothing is explained in this movie at all. So, why is she like this, Aaron? Explain it to me.
Well, you see, in the larger lore of Hitman, no, I don't think that there's... Now, granted, I haven't played every Hitman game out there, but I could probably tell you if there was a premonition character who could see some sort of the future. And it was like this character, yeah, they needed some kind of writer's
Why was it Dredd?
Convenience.
But like a worse Dredd.
Yeah. In Dredd, it has a point, right? Like, she is there and can like read people's minds to figure out like what they're thinking and like what they're about to do.
It is used fully in Dredd as a thing to like a means to an end, get people to see what you need to see, etc.
Yeah.
It is great.
And I would almost like with the Batman Arkham games where you have the Batman vision that every other game then copied afterwards, where you hold some button and you can see glowing objects around the room of like, oh, there's a knife over there and my target's over there.
My Spidey sense.
If that's kind of what they were going for and they wanted to give him a Hitman vision, again, like the 2018 Hitman had, I would have been okay with that. But yeah, this was like, she was telling him how to kill people in a way that was like he was testing her, but also she was the one who was the true Hitman and could kill people with a giant mechanical clamp.
Yes, you say that, but then at the same time, throughout the movie, she never uses this ability to actually prevent something from happening. She just sees it already happen, and then we, as the audience, see it happen again.
I think it could have done a lot better in the movie of like when the soldiers are hunting them, you know, it like shows the soldiers' footsteps and then like cuts to her ears and like shows that she's listening to them and can like pinpoint them by their sound. Or like, you know, she's using her senses as a way to tell like where somebody is. And then like
she smells the piss.
She smells the piss on Hitman. The piss was too strong from Hitman. Piss man.
He was ruining her precognitive powers with the overpowering piss smell.
Yeah. So, and it was just like, sometimes she could see a second into the future. Sometimes it was like 5 to 6 seconds out. And it was just like, what's the point of this? What?
It seems so stupid because consistently, and I think the like two that I distinctly remember are she sees two guards approaching, and then suddenly she also sees precognitively that Hitman is already behind them dispatching them. And then he does it. And I think as the audience, I say, well, I just precognitively saw it with her and then she did it. So what's the point of a future sense that is so delayed that by the time you're done witnessing the future, it's now it's now happening. There's no future to it because by the time you're done with the vision, oh no, I left the door unlocked and they're gonna burst in. Oh no, they're bursting in
right now.
What's the point? There's nothing to the power. It doesn't seem like this ultimate killing weapon. We perfected the Hitman gene in her, and everyone's like, did you really, doctor? We can only precog out like 0.5 seconds.
Yeah, and
it doesn't help that everything is disorienting, so that when you do see this precognitive vision, you know you're in it. It has an effect. It looks really bad. And then you're out of the vision, and then the camera angle goes somewhere else, 47 degrees in range of some other action.
Dude,
oh boy.
How fucking meta would it have been if every like time the like camera cut,
Dude.
the angle was 47 degrees different.
That would be sick, and so I would barf, I think.
I would give this movie a serious pass if they were like, every time there's a cut, it's 47 degrees.
Dude, I would actually, that would blow my mind. I swear it's can't
Yeah.
be.
I also think like the color gradient was on the cooler side. I think if they had been like color gradient, 47 degrees, baby.
Not only that, they chose like the 6-digit code, like 47, 47, 47 or something.
Yeah.
Horrible.
I also, with her character, I have a hard time in movies when the movie's like you said, Hitman, Agent 47, you came here to see this guy. This is what the movie's about, this guy. But then the movie's like, hey, we're going to introduce this person, and he's actually going to be like a mentor to them. And they kind of have some of the skills, but like not really. And it's just going to kind of like degrade everything because you know that we could be putting our budget into like doing some really cool stuff with the main character. But we're going to focus on them and we're going to focus on their relationship together, and they're both very just flat people that have no chemistry at all on screen. You're going to have to watch it. They do a lot of talking. Yeah. And so it's like,
This agent is not horny, by the way.
Don't sell me tickets to Truckamania if Gravedigger's not going to be there, you know?
Yeah, you got tickets to Truckamania. You purchased the whole seat. You thought you were only going to use the edge, and then a family sedan rolls out.
Yeah, Gravedigger comes out. He tows out a little minivan, and then the rest of the Truckamania is just the minivan, and you're like, yay!
It's the driver for Gravedigger rooting for the minivan driver. You could do this, minivan. Yeah, it felt like that. It was a devious little bait and switch. I didn't like it.
Yeah. And I know there's other... I'm struggling to remember which movies, but I know there's been other movies, especially recently, that still do that trend, where it's like, hey, here's our main character, but they got this person, and they're going to be kind of mentoring them, and it's...
I don't want to make a generalization, but I will say that I think every Marvel movie tries to do that in some way, where they're like, here's the Black Panther movie, and you're like, actually, it's about this guy.
Yeah.
And then, you know?
That's fair.
I think possibly they all try to do it, and I haven't even seen most of them now at this point. I'm really running on fumes on that one. But I think there is an aspect of like, we have a comic book character that is established. If it's called Captain America Winter Soldier, the movie is now technically about the Winter Soldier that you know nothing about. And Captain America is not the Winter Soldier.
Yeah. Or, hey, so you know Oppenheimer, right? Well, he had some grad students, so we're actually going to follow the grad students. And, you know, they didn't do the bomb, but they did put out some papers. The papers weren't about bombs either, but it was like some pretty okay physics. Like, I don't care. I'm not here to see, you know?
The movie's titled Oppenheimer, and it's like, actually, it's an Albert Einstein film.
Yeah.
We couldn't get the Einstein. I didn't think it was a good title.
He tied Einstein to a chair in a giant turbine room. Dude, okay.
Einstein, get yourself out of the chair. You can do it.
So one of Hitman's like mentoring segments with the female character who, well, I'll call her Agent 90 because I don't remember her name.
Katya. I mean, it translates to 90 in French.
Does it though? Because I think they could have just told me that, and I would have been like, yeah, okay.
I believe Agent 47. He would never tell a lie. He's not programmed to do that.
So yeah, so he's got her like tied to this chair after she has spent, you know, a good hour running away from him. He captures her, ties her to this chair, tells her that she's got these powers, and then he reveals that she's in this big room with a jet turbine. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just a jet turbine.
One jet turbine.
Pretty big.
Folks, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I don't know where to find a big jet turbine.
Well, you're not Agent 47, Aaron.
True. Maybe that's my mistake. Maybe if I was in the jet turbine market, I'd also be in the...
He gets the magazines for him.
It was just like,
airplane jetliner daily.
Yeah, it was just like, folks, what are we doing here? I love the idea of a giant jet turbine room, but where did Hitman just find this one?
Well,
It's
it's sort of explained in that it's sort of a factory for turbines, kind of. But also the 47-degree changes make it literally impossible to know what the outline of that entire facility was at all.
Yeah. And like how they got there, how he knew about it.
Because there were scenes where they're up on a second-story catwalk, and then there are scenes where the people who were on the first floor are also on the second-story catwalk, but also on the bottom, and they never shoot them until they're like point-blank range.
Dude, there were so many crazy moments where one character, you would think, by the way the movie was showing it to you, you would think that that character was in the line of sight of another character. But then
100%.
the like in the very beginning, Zachary Quinto is helping Agent 90 to like escape Agent 47, and they're like, he's right there, and it cuts, and the Agent 47's like maybe 150 feet away from them, walking.
Yeah, like he's down a story, but like he's right there.
No, this was like, the way I got it from the movie, he was like on the same level as them, just like slowly sauntering towards them, Terminator-esque.
Gotcha.
And like had a gun in his hand and could have just been like, pop, but chose not to, I guess. And like, then it like cuts to another thing. And then, yeah, he was down a story. And so there were so many times like that.
Yeah.
And then they'd be like, they would run a whole bunch, right? They'd run away from him. And then they'd turn around. He's still walking after them, and he's just as close.
Yeah. They ran with a walking gait.
Yeah.
I don't know how it was possible.
Or like,
but they
he
did
was
it.
doing some like green light, red light, where like they weren't looking at him, and he was like,
The camera only catches his movement if he's walking. Yeah. The Slender Man of Hitman. Yeah.
So
truly a nightmare character.
Yeah, and then that definitely translates to that factory scene too, where they're up on that catwalk and they're like, the bad guys can't see us. But you in the shot.
It was literally the two shots where it shows the entering enemies and they're like, yeah, team coming in. And then it cuts back to 90 and 47 on the catwalk, and they're like, we have a couple minutes, and then you see that group of people in the top of the frame, like searching actively for the people who are then fully
just standing.
Well, you're seeing them. We saw them, so you can.
And they were also talking at a level that if you were an empty warehouse, you would straight up hear somebody be like, yeah, we got a couple minutes, and you'd be like, oh, they're over there.
You would hear it from the other side of the turbine room, you know? Oh. And that's the thing. Apparently this turbine room was fully soundproof because if that turbine was on the whole time, which I'm led to believe it was, they enter this facility and all you would hear is like and they're like, well, that's why you couldn't hear them. There was a big turbine on.
Well, it was behind that piece of glass that, only shattered after getting shot with one bullet, so.
Yeah, Zachary Quinto could generally jump through any pane of glass that we put him through, so. Oh, boy. Do you want to go jump through a pane of glass real quick as we do a little ad break?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm okay. I have titanium in my blood.
I'm not. I rolled in all this piss.
Oh, no. You slipped on the piss.
Yeah, folks, so if you're wondering, so we're watching the movie, and there's this scene that, first off, that it was...
If you're wondering why we're talking about piss, it's because we watched Agent 47.
Piss Man.
Piss Man.
So there's the scene that could have 100% been cut from the movie altogether. It would not have changed things. Hitman...
It was very important for the story.
He checks into a hotel and then, goes through his belongings, shows that he's got this cool briefcase with a gun in it, and then proceeds to sit down on a couch and just chill out for, it could have been between 1 hour and 7 days.
No idea. There's no timestamp.
Yeah. But I chose to believe it was 7 days and that he had just been pissing in one spot that whole time.
He's perfectly trained his body so he doesn't have to eat or drink anything. All he has to do is expel piss. Unexplained. He just sat there. Maybe it was 48 seconds.
47.
It's hard to know. 47. You're right. It was 47 seconds. We got 47 degrees. We should rewatch it. No, not rewatch the movie. Scan the director's commentary to see if they're like, and so this is at this moment. We 47 degrees.
I would also love like a retelling of this movie where he's like OCD, and so he goes to a door, opens and closes it 47 times before going through it.
Oh no.
Every time he walks, it's within 47 paces, and then he has to stop for 47 seconds.
That's why he doesn't speed up while chasing someone. He has to keep a pace of like 47 minutes behind them, right?
He's doing the car chase, but he's only topping out at 47 miles an hour.
Yeah, they're all like, well, we just got away. We went 80 miles per hour.
He's back there still just...
I'll get you one day, Gadget. Yeah. It was... I think the funniest moment... There were so many funny moments, but I think one of the wildest moments was that they basically did the same shot as in the first movie, where he was very far away and he shoots a gun really far, really accurately, and it follows the bullet, and you're like, oh man. But guess what? In the first movie, it follows the bullet, and then the bullet explodes the side of somebody's fucking skull, and it's fucking brutal and awesome and ridiculous looking. And then in the first movie again, he ruins it by blowing up the gun for some reason and not just like leaving. In this one, it doesn't do on any of that. You don't even know where she's hit. Probably because they want to keep it a little secret. They're like, maybe she's dead. It's only 30 minutes in the movie. You never know. But of course, I would have preferred something like a spray of blood or like the car crashes or something. It just fully had no impact, even though it fully is a bullet impacting someone. In the movie, you're just like, well, what happened? I don't even know.
Yeah.
I guess she's fine.
Well, it doesn't even leave you waiting that long to figure out the question. Like he takes the shot with the sniper. It impacts. It looked like to me. It looked like the car even, and so I was like, oh, well, he hit the car.
Perfect aim.
And then it waits 4.7 seconds to cut to the next scene where it's revealed that she's totally fine, and you're like, so then who did it hit? And she like turns and she's like, ouchie, my little arm.
My skinned my elbow. Oh no. Yeah. So they did that again, and you say, why? Why do it again?
Like
and to less of an
there's
effect.
sniper elements in the games, and again, I
Right.
get that you're trying to like integrate that into the movie. I'm good with that, but lean into it. Do a whole like sniper mission. You know, there's no them doing a mission in this game. There's the point where Zachary Quinto and 90 are running away from 47. They go into the embassy, you know, and then get captured. And then you would think, oh, he's got to infiltrate. He's going to go through and he's going to do different costumes.
The setup.
Like he's going to poison some soup. You know, like it's a perfect set of like montage focusing on Agent 47 and like what he does as a hitman. Like it's there. The script literally set it up for a fun bit of the movie, and then the movie was like,
honestly,
yeah, and then the movie's like, no, we're gonna cut, and
he put his gun through the X-ray system.
yeah, and then he's gonna do this like weird thing where he bounces a table up and it makes the gun fire, because that's totally how guns work, by the way.
Dude, not before even that, he's going through the embassy TSA. We have a moment right in this movie to have a badass Matrix bank shootout.
Yeah.
Because they find his guns in the security checkpoint. And he fully is just like, you see my guns?
They're right there.
I'm here.
Would be a shame if someone was to take them.
You got me, officer. You know, like, I just for that to be the build up where we see an embassy, like literally like gets a nameplate embassy, a place where the hitman is gonna do the hitman thing where he infiltrates and does a job, and then fully just goes in to get caught because that was his job the whole time.
Yeah, and then along with that,
No!
there's also like she's getting interrogated by, Doofy McDooferson, and she has that premonition of Hitman walking in and like revealing that he's got these guns, and you're like, how does she know that is gonna happen? That was straight up like one of those moments where it was like, that is straight up premonition, not just,
That's the thing. It wasn't consistent with how the second timing had worked previously. This was a fully detached moment from her reality.
Yeah. There's no way, like, that would be like if I was just sitting here and I'm like, oh, they just put in more fries at McDonald's. I could feel it. Like.
And then you drive there and they're like hot and fresh. And you're like, I knew it. Because it means nothing. It's literally like, I could say that and be right. And not only that, it's not even a cool premonition because he was right there.
Yeah.
They went into the embassy and he was standing right there. What did you think? He wasn't going to follow you in?
They were also trying to do some like cheeky thing there at the beginning where like she kept having the premonition of him and then being like, oh, Terminator 2-esque, he's the bad guy. Oh, he's the bad guy. But then Zachary Quinto shows up and he's the good guy. But the movie shows its hand where Agent 47 gets dispatched by, his syndicate, and they're like, hey, there's a guy from the syndicate. He's the bad guy. Watch out for him. And then Zachary Quinto conveniently shows up seconds later, and you're like, well,
I'm here to save you.
And you're like, it's him. Of course it's him. But yeah.
There was no other person.
I think my biggest qualm with this whole little bluff that they tried to do was that they're trying to set Hitman up as if he's the bad guy and Quinto as if he's the good guy, when all you've given me is two different syndicates with the same kind of different vibe, different names. And to me, I don't know which one really is good or bad. And I also don't care because they do the same thing. That would be like if
they hit the men.
That would be like if I got kidnapped from by a guy from Domino's, and he's like, "Well, the guy from Pizza Hut was gonna kidnap you," and I'm like, "Bro, yeah, this is the same."
You're like, "Well, just let him do that, bro."
I mean, you guys got the better pizza, but like, it's all the same thing. It's all pizza.
But they got the cheesy bread. Yeah.
So it meant nothing to have one person be like, they're the bad guy. Oh, they're the good guy. Because it's nothing. It's absolutely nothing.
Do you think there's a version of this film where they shaved the fuck out of Zachary Quinto's head and and at the end of the movie, instead of his hair being white, he takes off his wig and he's just bald too, and he's like, I'm the Hitman too.
Title card, Hitman 2.
Because the thing that confused me quite a bit was Hitman, and I guess I'm going off the lore more of the movie now, the previous movie, which is so inaccurate to what I'm familiar with. But like in the previous movie, right, there was that one fight scene where he fights a bunch of other hitmen who are trying to kill him, and they were all bald.
Yeah.
And so why is Zachary Quinto not also bald? They're like, well, we figured it out. Didn't have to lose hair after number 49.
So here's another FU. There's revealed at some point in the movie that there's another hitman who is also... His title is Agent 48. He looks exactly like Agent 47. But Zachary Quinto's also an agent, and then Agent 90's a person. And so at what point did they stop cloning 47? And they're like, all right, now we need one that looks like Agent 47. Oh, and now we need a female one.
That's the thing. It was okay. So 47 to like 88 are all Rupert Friend. And then 89 is Zachary Quinto, and then 90 is Hannah Ware. And that is kind of just how they did it. They figured it out.
And 1 through 46.9 were good old Timmy.
Timmy Ollie, yeah. That's how it works in the my canon Hitman universe.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
Nothing.
Why does he got hair?
He got hair.
He got hair. Not only that, it turned white.
It turned white. And he also had subdermal titanium plating under his skin, which just sounds itchy.
A character fully is like, oh, they figured that out. That's fucking crazy. What the hell? That's so stupid. Why they do that? And I'm like, I'm with you, man. How'd they do it? So crazy.
Yeah.
They figured it out. He can stop bullets like a superhero, but he bleeds and feels pain.
I guess, and can kind of be killed for a short minute of time.
Because he was shot like 4 times in the chest, and he woke up 2 hours later like, ooh, ouchie,
yeah.
ouch. Ooh.
I feel like if he just, gave, I don't know. Zachary, if you're out there and you want to do some audio commentary for us for this movie, reach out, because I'm genuinely curious.
Come on the show.
This movie was 2015, and if I'm remembering right, Star Trek came out before this. So what were you...
Like multiple Star Treks, right?
I think one and...
At least the first one.
I think even the one with good old Benny and Eggs came out,
Like Beyond or whatever?
Yeah, the Darkness one, yeah.
The second one?
With Smaug.
Yeah,
Smokey. So, Zachary, I don't believe you were hurting for the money. Were you just acting for fun and you're like, oh, I do love the Hitman movies.
I do love subdermal titanium.
Yeah.
Was he even... Nah, I can't even question if he acted good in the... I just can't. There's a formal disconnect. I can't figure it out. Every line was so insufferably dull. That I just couldn't get it.
Hot take alert. I think there is a failing in current movie writing where they think that because one character in a movie acts a certain way, all characters have to act that same way. Look at all the Marvel movies. Marvel does this. One character is the funny character, therefore all the characters across all movies have to act the same way.
That's true. They have to react in kind.
Yeah. And, this one character, he should be the funny one, like the Flash, but now Batman's going to start, cracking jokes too. Looking at you, Justice League.
Oh, Ant-Man funny? Oh, all of Ant-Man's friends and retinue are also now funny.
And so it's like, there's a failing here where a good movie should have characters and supporting characters that act in different ways. Look at your friend group out there, people. There's different people that act different ways. Not all people have the same...
Speak for yourself. I only hang out with clones of myself.
I mean, you're talking to one, so...
Podcast with myself. Stop podcasting yourself.
Yeah, that's right. You're now listening to Myself, Myself, and Myself, the self-help podcast.
It's something new. It's something beautiful. Copyright strike. Sorry.
Oh, no.
A treasure. Yeah. It's a good theme.
But there's a failing in current writing, and this movie failed into that, where Hitman is supposed to be one-dimensional. I get that. There's nothing wrong with having a one-dimensional character.
And it's not all movies, but there are a lot of mainstream movies that are doing this. Which this movie technically could be considered mainstream at some point at 2015. I don't know. I don't think a lot of people saw it.
Hey, 47 people.
But guess what? Box office smash. 4 times the budget on this movie it made back. I'm just going to say that right now.
$47 million. They actually made a lot more than 47, but they had to give it away because they were like, hey, no. We only set out to make $47 million here.
We got to give it back to the Idios or whoever made Hitman.
So... I would like to see more movies put out, like, you can have your one-dimensional character, but there's also other characters that act a different way. And I think a good movie that did this really well is Terminator 2. So you've got the Terminator.
You got to have the annoying son character.
Exactly. But he's different, right?
He's very different and memorable because of how annoying
he's the worst. But, like, you got the Terminator. He's a one-dimensional character. You got... Sarah Connor, she's doing her own buff, awesome woman thing. And then you got the annoying teenager. They all act in different ways, but it supports each other. They learn from each other. They grow.
They're one big family.
And it's great. This movie, you just got him who's doing his kind of impression of the character from the game, where he's kind of like, oh, I'm Hitman, you know? Yar, blimey.
You know me, Hitman, the character who talks a lot in the video games.
I've kind of got like a cockney thing.
The most common thing I know of a Hitman game is he's a cockney Englishman.
But then you've also got the female who's acting the same way. You got Zachary, who's given just zero. Like, they saw Spock, and they were like, do Spock again, and he was like, I'm even gonna bring less Spock to it, baby.
Not only that, it's like the villain and the father were also as one-dimensional and boring.
Yeah.
So every conversation felt like two characters. You could have picked any two, and they could have been having the same conversation. But because it had to be the main villain, bad guy, CEO, hermetically sealed room, office man for some reason, and the father doctor, they had to talk in this room. But guess what? Put Agent 47 against Zachary Quinto in the same room saying the same lines, it would be the exact same scene, because there was no motivational, there was no intonation change. If you're seeing like them talk, it's like there was nothing different. There wasn't a performance. And it goes back to what we opened the episode with, in that if you're gonna not parody, they're really not trying to make a funny thing, but if your whole thing is to make a movie about a semi-goofy, can't really be taken that seriously video game franchise, you have to lean into something that is personal to your experience of the game, and it has to have some emotional weight behind it. Because if I've played so little of them, but if the writers of this had played a Hitman game, period, play the game you're writing the movie about. It must be that they just are given the license to do it and say, oh, he's a hitman, he kills people, he changes outfits sometimes. We know the base amount of information we need to know about this video game to make a workable script that Hollywood will buy and we will make $80 million for. It just baffles me. And I think, again, it's like fully why I think the strike is continually happening is because these huge studios are just like, writers don't fucking do anything. They barely even play the video game we are doing this movie about. And writers are like, well, you don't pay us enough to play the video game. And it's like, well, then you put out shitty movies. And it's like, well, you didn't pay us to put a good movie out. So it's like totally warranted and has been since before 2015, but at least highlighted now in this movie.
I do get baffled at times where it's like, all right, you've got MacGuffin characters giving MacGuffin dialogue about MacGuffin concepts, and nothing matters. You could take anybody, you could give Darth Vader talking to fucking Johnny Five from Short Circuit about pancakes
Who gives a
from
shit?
Denny's being better than pancakes from IHOP. And be more,
You've described a way more interesting scene. A, how the fuck did Darth Vader get to an IHOP or Denny's? How the fuck is Johnny Five here? Are they in a Denny's on the Death Star?
No.
Either way, I'm engrossed.
But to go with that, there's so much content out in the world nowadays. We have the internet. We have people who are playing these games. And
what a phrase.
I think one of the things that is a blessing in its own way that is just so seriously underused by Hollywood, and I'm probably screwing over the whole SAG right now, and they're going to just come to my house and burn it down.
I hope they do. I don't even know what you're going to say, but I hope they do.
All Hollywood has to do when they make a movie about a comic book or a video game is get onto something like DeviantArt or wherever people put out like fanfic, and just type in the fanfic, the name of the product that they have, right? Hitman 47. Then there's countless results of people who have done fanfics about Hitman or Star Wars or Harry Potter, Marvel, DC. It's all there. And I'm personally not somebody who reads those things, but I know people who do, and like they often recommend. They're like, hey, there's this one that's really good. There's this one that's really good. Here's this storyline. Here's stuff that happens in this. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, that is actually kind of entertaining, and I would watch a movie about that.
I think fanfic is, again, like a good gateway into a very corrupt, like that's why the thing is happening, right? It's like these people who grew up writing these fanfics, and beyond fanfics, like full-on fictions and, fully formed different things that they've branched off. I don't want to say like the main one that I can think of is like 50 Shades of Grey technically is like a fanfic of Twilight, right? And that became its own thing, but it's like the same thing, right? Where you have somebody, I'm not saying 50 Shades of Grey is this like pinnacle of storytelling, but it's like you have somebody that has a partially original idea that they're melding onto something. And so there should be more of these. Those are writers that are an untapped potential that studios are just fully like, fuck it. We got Betty over here, and they wrote the fucking Agent 47 script, and it's selling. We bought it, and so we have to make it now. And Betty's like, I never played the games. I just know what a hitman is because my dad killed many people for it. Like, I don't know what's going on there. I don't know how this script made it to here. I don't know why it made so much money. Aaron, what do you think?
Well,
watch or not watch?
I think if this had been something where somebody got on fanfic.com and typed in Agent 47.
But it feels like a fanfic.
It doesn't.
It does.
No, I'm going to.
Yes, it does.
Doesn't. It feels like.
It feels like a fanfic of a different game.
Yes.
That somebody wrote and said, my character is a cool woman who is precognition. She has it all. She's a superhero. And then somebody's like, put it in a Hitman movie.
It was.
I'm not saying it feels like a Hitman fanfic. I agree.
I'm saying, to me, it felt like another one of these movies where it was like somebody just had the license and they're like, oh, shit. Oh, shit. We forgot to make the movie 2 years ago. Damn it. Oh, get those writers. Put them to work. You get some set together. You take the whole photo which we just did and just make it look like shit. And then they're rushing together to like
shave Rupert Friend's head.
He's like, it's my best quality. It just felt like another one of those movies where it was rushed because they were running out of time to keep the title. And they had to put out something, and they put out something, and for some stupid reason it made money. And I just did not enjoy this movie. I did not. It was not enjoyable. I didn't give a shit about the characters. 2 years from now, when we're making jokes about Piss Man, I'm going to be making them about the first one. And then you're going to be like, no, that was from the second one. I'm going to be like, I don't think we saw that one.
And then we'll rewatch it and be like, man, we got to do an episode.
Well, no, thank God you have the Excel spreadsheet, because we'll go to the Excel spreadsheet and you'll say, no, we watched it.
I'll type in 47 and it'll come up 47 times. We're like, no.
We're getting some hell where we're just continuing. Anyway, it's a not watch, folks. Don't watch this movie.
Don't do it.
It's a MacGuffin film. You can sit there and imagine a syndicate film where one syndicate's going against another one. There's some reason they're doing it. You don't know what it is because you didn't pay attention to the movie because the dialogue was so stupidly boring.
I mean, if anything, it's like this being from 2015. We're so far away from it now, but it feels like if there was a decline, like if people were saying movies are really bad now in 2015 to whatever time, you can point to this movie and say, I completely agree. I think we got to scrap the whole thing and figure it out from the bottom, because whatever happened here, it's a not watch. I don't understand Not only that, what we forgot to mention at all is that like all of the action scenes basically look so shitty.
Yeah.
There's so many bad CG crashes of vehicles and cuts, therefore, like immediately after that ruin the momentum of like what would be an actual stunt, that you're like, just do it all CG in the video game that exists. Yeah. Why do the movie at all? Dumb.
So dumb.
Waste of time movie. Do not watch it. We watched it so you don't have to in this instance, because guess what? We didn't want to watch it anyways, but we did anyways because we suggested it to ourselves. Because why did we watch the first one? And we watched the first one like so early in our like podcasting episodic.
Smart podcasters would watch more popular films to get the SEO out there, but we were like, hey, Timothy Olyphant, woo!
We should watch Hitman. Timothy Olyphant was in the fucking Mandalorian season. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Secretly an SEO god, Timothy Olyphant.
Love him. Timmy, you can come on anytime. We'll have you.
Timmy, come on. We'll shave your fucking head and Rupert Friend on stream. You can duke it out, see who the better hitman is. And I'll just end it with, before we like completely end it, there was a scene where a secondary hitman is teased about 45 minutes into the movie, and you say, oh boy, if it's Timothy Olyphant, and they sort of mix it into the world of the previous movie, how cool would that be? I don't know. Nobody really liked the Timothy Olyphant one, but wouldn't it be cool to have a callback like that? I don't know. I kind of thought maybe. Guess who comes out of the elevator? It's Rupert Friend again. Either way, what a fucking bait and switch, because why bother it being someone different? It could be the same guy.
They were like, hey, you made it this far. We don't give a fuck about you.
And they don't owe me anything, and I understand that, but it still just is like, well, why does the same guy is not a cool reveal?
No.
At all.
No.
Like, oh, they cloned him. Oh. Just have it be somebody else. Have it be fucking like Tom Cruise. How crazy of a movie would this have been if a fucking shaved head Tom Cruise comes out of that elevator?
Tropic Thunder.
Tropic Thunder.
Shaved head Tom Cruise.
Oh, you're right. Oh my God, it could have
spoilers.
All right. Well, that's going to do it, because I think we've done it, Aaron. I think we're done. I'm at the fever pitch of how much I hate this movie. I honestly wanted to start this episode and try and be as positive as possible, but I couldn't think of one thing that I genuinely liked.
Dude, I wanted to start this movie and like actually, get a couple minutes in and be like, whoa, this is kind of fun. Like, that would have been so cool. You watch the first one, you're like, ugh, it's kind of a stinker. And then you watch this one and you're like, oh, this was, look, they, oh, and then you're like enjoying it. That's folks, that's how I watch movies, by the way. That's
yeah, Aaron never shuts the fuck up when we watch these movies. He's always just gasping at everything. It's really hard, which is why we have to talk about it afterwards, because I could never understand if he actually liked the movie or not. He's just so flabbergasted by the cinema. He's awestruck.
They're in space. That's a thing.
Outer space. Yeah. But that's going to do it for this episode of Too Much Popcorn. Thank you so much. Grab that popcorn. I ate too much popcorn. I do feel sick.
I gasped it all.
I don't feel well. You inhaled it, and you've heard of popcorn lungs. You have it like tenfold somehow. I don't know how you managed, but that's gonna do it for the episode. Thank you so much for listening. Again, we're doing a thing. If you're listening on Spotify, thank you so much. That's amazing. We love that. It's like a real tangible. You can follow us on Spotify. It's like a tangible thing you can do. Otherwise, listen to us wherever you want. You got YouTube. You got Apple, you got all the other podcatchers out there, and we love to see those comments on YouTube. suggesting movies, letting us know what you thought about the review. And that's going to do it. Bye.
Bye.